Happy Friday, everybody. It's Ashley Coley signing back on. I had an email after my last video that I posted a week ago about oculomotor skills, including fixation, saccades, and pursuits. I had let everybody know if you had questions or had other topics that you'd like for me to discuss or present on, if you will, for them to email me. And I actually had several emails with different requests, but the first one that I wanted to tackle was from a mom of a patient at our Pecan Park location. And she emailed and requested for me to cover our Visigraph goggles, which our Visigraph goggles are a tool that we use to assess patients' ocular motor skills. And what's really neat about these goggles, and the reason why this parent wanted me to share more about it, is because from her perspective, it was what really let her see and become more aware of why her child was struggling with vision, even though her child had 20/20 vision. So this, I'm excited to share more about it because it is one of the favorite tools in our office as far as what I hear from patients and parents, because it really helps them understand what's going on. So these Visigraph goggles are goggles that I'm going to turn around so you can see, but they have infrared sensors around the eyes, and they just go on the patient very comfortably like this, and then we strap them on so they're nice and secure. And then the doctors calibrate the goggles once they're on the patient's face to calibrate them for each patient. I want to show you guys that the goggles are actually then connected to a computer and a software program, because it is recording the eye movements, and it will present a simulation and data points for the parent once the tasks have been completed. So what I'd like to do is talk about the tasks that we have the patient do. The first one being fixations. We want to assess and test their fixation abilities, which is the ability for the eyes to maintain a steady gaze. So with the goggles on, we ask the patient to stare at an X that's on a piece of paper that's right in front of them for 10 seconds. And the patient, ideally, what we'd like to see is that their eyes stay fixated on the X for the entire 10 seconds. But after the 10 seconds and the recording is done, the computer then generates a simulation where it shows the black X and it shows this little red line, which indicates where the patient was fixating. It also gives data points for how many times the eyes came off the X and at what degree, what distance did they come off. So those are data points that we can then reassess after therapy, and we've done several therapy sessions. We reassess the same skill to see improvements, which is really important for our patients to see, because they're spending time and money to come and train. So they want to see improvements. And so that's one of the things that allows us to provide that type of assessment. It's with actual data points and quantitative measurements. The second skill that we ask them to complete with the Visigraph goggles is testing their saccadic abilities and their accuracies. So on this one, there are two X's on the page, about 6 to 7 inches apart. Again, the patient has the goggles on, and then we ask them to jump their eyes back and forth between the X's as quickly as they can until we say stop, about 10 seconds. And then during the simulation, after the recording is over, the computer generates a simulation, and it shows the two X's and this red line, and it jumps back and forth. But then it also gives data points, and I'm going to give you an example. Johnny was able to jump his eyes back and forth between the X's 20 times, but his left eye made 45 movements and his right eye made 40 movements. So two things go off in my head is we're not even making similar movements, because the number of movements between the left eye and right eye were not even the same. But then we're making twice as many movements because we only went back and forth between the X's 20 times, but our eyes are making 30, 35, 40 movements, which means our eyes are working harder than they should. And again, we can train the skill itself and then reassess and see the improvements in the improved accuracy and improved precision. The third and final test that we do with patients with these Visigraph goggles on is a reading simulation. So we ask the child or patient or adult to read a story And again, the computer software generates a simulation that shows the story and then a red dot showing where their eyes are moving as they're reading through the story. Also, it gives data points. So how many fixations? How many times did their eyes stop as they were reading the story? How many regressions? Regressions are anytime we're reading with forward movements and our eyes regress and go back. Obviously, we want to minimize how many times we're going backwards. And several other data points, including their span of recognition. How much information is their brain processing every time their eyes stop, which is important for improving reading speed. Again, all of these are quantitative data points that we're collecting, not only when the patient initially comes in to be assessed at our clinic, but at every progress evaluation. So we can compare where we were at our baseline and where we are 6 to 8 weeks later, where we are another 6 to 8 weeks later, so we can continue to track the progress. It also allows our doctor team to further individualize the recommendations for each patient's program. Because if we're seeing improvements in fixations, but not as much improvement in saccades, our doctor's team is going to then increase the focus on the program in that area so that we're constantly tailoring and individualizing the patient's program to best suit what they need at that time. So again, this is the Visigraph goggles. Thank you to, I'm just going to call her Miss A, for sending in that email and asking for more information about our Visigraph goggles, which is the way that we assess and collect data for ocular motor skills. If you have any other questions, again, I have several other topics that I received emails about that I'll be tackling in 2019. But if you have any topics or information that you want us to share more on, don't hesitate to email me. My email is ashley.coley@ocbt.info. I'll include it in the link or in this post so you can email me directly. But we're excited to share more information in 2019. So if you have something you want to learn more about or want us to cover, don't hesitate to email me. Happy holidays from all of us at OCBT. We hope that you have an amazing holiday season, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.